Okay, what you say, people? Welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be breaking down what's happened this week and potentially what could be happening next week as well for each pair. So I do hope you enjoy the video. And with all that said, guys, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up we got Euro USD, like always. Now for this pair, we did see a bit of a move to the upside this week back into some resistance. I was primarily looking for shorts for Euro USD back down to 1.08. However, all the bearish momentum that we saw coming into the week with these candles here rejecting off some support here on the left turned resistance. You know, all that bearish momentum failed. The market put a higher low and actually pushed higher from that. As you can see in the 4H, you know, with this trend line, it helps illustrate that a little bit more. The market was still pushing higher. So that bearish momentum failed. We broke through some resistance and the market came back into that 1.1 area. Now coming into next week, I've been looking at the DXY and it does look like we could still see some weakness for dollar. So if that does come into play, we could be seeing Euro USD maintaining some bullish momentum to the upside, you know, respecting this higher low here, breaking through this resistance potentially and pushing higher. We do have some resistance up here, which would be our targets if the market does move higher and actually stays above this trend line here as well. So for me, Euro USD, I do expect more continuation to the upside. Now the market is still very bearish if you take into account, you know, the larger trend, especially looking at the weekly. The market is still very bearish, but we are rejecting a fairly key area on the weekly, which could give us some more upside. So if we can break through this resistance here, trading in around 1.1200, there is a good chance that the market will move into this next area up there. You can see better on the 4H, which is this area here, a bit of a gap in the market, which we filled. Not completely, to be honest, but we did come quite 75% of the way before this big drop. So I do think the market can come back up into 1.125 if the bearish momentum comes back into the market and we don't see a break of this level. Then yes, we can be looking for shorts for the market to break through this trend line, give us some lower highs, and then we can trade this back down into these lows for probably some new lows as well. But if bullish momentum holds, especially the trend line, I will be looking for more upside for Euro USD, specifically a break above this structure for push into that area there. So this primarily will be the safest and highest probability long trade we'll look for Euro USD. There could be some longs off the trend line, but again, slightly more riskier because the market could obviously, you know, bounce and then collapse because again, it's still in a higher time frame bearish trend. So we'll be looking for longs on the break and retest of that area. If you want to look for some longs earlier, maximize your risk to rewards, then this area here around the 1.101 will be a nice place to look to go long. Obviously slightly more risky, and if this area does end up breaking, this would now be a nice area for some shorts to take advantage of some sales back to the downside. So only if that happens will I look for shorts, but coming into the week, I'm still looking for long for Euro USD. Firstly, back into this level here at 1.12, and secondly, back into this level here at 1.124 for next week. Okay, so now we've got USD JPY. So as you can see for this pair, it's still very, very bullish. Another bullish week for this one, coming into 119.145 is the price we're currently trading at before the weekly candle closed. Now coming into the week for this one, I was looking for more upside back into 118, maybe further. I was specifically talking about this weekly zone I was expecting the market to run into, which is this level here, which we haven't traded at since, you know, late 2016, early 2017, and now we're trading back there again. So I was expecting the market to see some type of, you know, resistance from this level. It's currently breaking through, definitely taking out some liquidity above that high, but the market is still very, very bullish on pretty much all high time frames. If I go in the monthly quickly, you can see the market's been flying to the upside for a considerable amount of months now. So the monthly is still showing signs of bullish momentum, weekly, daily, you know, all showing signs of bullish momentum. So, technically, if this trend wants to continue, there's nothing stopping it, pushing it a lot further if it wants to. Now, the market is trading at a very critical area. Even though we are trading above, the market could easily be taking out liquidity, just taking out the highs before seeing some downside. And normally after such a big move like this, we do expect to see, a deeper retracement happen soon. So for me, I'm still looking for the shorts for USD-JPY, but it might be a little bit too early. So with that information there, we could still push on. We've just printed this high here just before the weekly candle close, and now that we're trading above this area, it's now going to be acting as support. So, generally speaking, looking for those, day trades there could be nice to look for longs when the market does retrace, find its feet again, was resistance, support, could be some nice buys back into those highs. So that could be one opportunity to look for. Like I said, I'm going to be waiting for the sells. Before I look for any longs, I want price to retrace a lot more first before I do look for longs. But like I said, it could be a nice day trade to take advantage of back to highs. If the market can break through this area, start using it as resistance, that's when I'll get into some shorts potentially if everything is met my criteria, and then I'll look for a bigger move to the downside to some of these areas, potentially that 116, 200, 300 area I'll be looking at. There's also this area here around 117 to take into account. But like I said, it might be too early to look for shorts. So still longs for USD-JPY coming into next week. But if you can break through some structure, retest this kind of 118,400 area, I will look for some sells. Targets down to 117 and then 116,300. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at USD CAD. So USD CAD, as you can see, very bearish week for this one. Nice wick to the upside in the market, maintain that bearish momentum. You can see how the weekly candles closed. It does look like we're finally breaking out this consolidation to the downside. Coming into the week, I was looking for more upside. The market was trending bullish, protecting these higher highs, higher lows. I was expecting this to be a bit of a false break, the retest of the trend line and continuation back to these highs. However, that bullish momentum that we did see at the start of the week on Monday was quickly erased by the strong bearish move, as we saw a lot of dollar weakness and a lot of CAD strength as well. And now we've broken through this trend line. So I do think this momentum will continue to the downside. Hopefully we can get some retracement first, but this area 1.25 to 1.245 is the next destination I'm expecting USD CAD to head to. So I'm looking for some retracement to begin with because the market is quite bearish, so hopefully we can see some upside. I'm mainly looking at the market coming back into this area where we wicked the downside, sort of a lot of bullish momentum, wicked back into that same area again, nice bullish momentum. If we can push back into this area, give us a wick to the upside, at around 1.268, 1.27, that'd be a great place to look for some shorts to take advantage of a move back down into that 1.25 area. Obviously the market right now is coming to an area of support, which is basically this wick here. So I'm expecting to see some upside from that. If we don't reach that area, we can anticipate a lower swing high before that, but this is mainly the area I'm looking to take advantage of some shorts for USD CAD and targets right back down to that same support and then 1.25. If not, the market is very bearish, we just break through, we can always look for the retest of the underside of this low. Again, probably want to drop to the low time frames and again still same targets at 1.25. So looking for more shorts for USD CAD. Hopefully we can pull back into that 1.27 area, if not break and retest of that. But targets for the week for both trade opportunities will be 1.25.
Sorry to interrupt the video guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, this pair, a little bit choppy this week. We've slowly been moving higher, but very choppy week. Pretty much just draw a box around that price action. We haven't done much. So Euro Pound, not too much for this one. Coming into the week, I was bullish, looking for a bit more downside first before that push up, but I've been looking for the market to push higher into this resistance here, which is tapped into a little bit, but I do think we can go and take out that wick actually, and actually head to some areas here on the left around the 0.845 area, because if you do take into account the higher time frames, mainly the monthly. If you look where we're trading, we're still at that monthly support. They've just produced a really nice wick to the downside. Obviously this monthly candle still does have 12 days and 5 hours left. It could still close bearish underneath the level. We'll have to find out at the end of the month, but for right now the market is still trading above this area, so I'm still looking at a bit more upside for euro pound. Only if we do get back below, then we could see a lot more downside. But for me, I'm expecting some upside now for euro pound still. It did hit that target, but I'm still looking for price to at least make a new high and potentially go and hit that area, which is a bit more of an aggressive target since the trend is still down, as you can see. But if we can break through this, that would be the next logical target I'm expecting euro pound to get to. So coming into this week, still looking for longs. The market is, let's go back to the daily time frame quickly, the market is still holding this area here as support, and if that can maintain, I'm expecting the market to move back into that daily zone up there for some buying opportunities and for a move higher. If we do go and break through this, then like I said last week, this is the area I'm looking for price to come into for some buys. If we take this area across, it's a very, very strong area of support. As you can see, held it very well. I'm treating this big dump to the downside and recovery as a bit of a false break, taking liquidity below that low, so we can see some upside. So we might come back for the retest of this area before going bullish. So there's two areas I'm looking to go bullish for euro pound. One area that we're trading in right now, so pretty much earlier in the week we'll be monitoring price in this area to see what type of price action we can get on the hourly, and if it does look good, we'll be looking for some longs right back into those highs at 0.846, and then if we're lucky we can probably push a trade into that level. But for the excuse me, but for the week we'll be looking for a push back into that resistance there. If not, and it doesn't hold and we push lower, and we'll be anticipating a higher low back down at this area, which is around the 0.832, 0.831 area, and same targets, buys back up into that resistance. So that's the plan for euro pound for the week, only looking for buys and targets at this 0.846 level and potentially higher for next week. Okay, now we're going to move on to AUD/USD. So as you can see, this week it started off very, very bearish, and it turned out very, very bullish in the end. You can see, I believe the market started with this candle here on Monday, strongly to the downside, a bit of indecision, found support, and then flew from then on into the rest of the week. So I did come into the week with a bearish bias, looking for a push right back down into this level here, which you can see the market did get to very, very quickly. I was not expecting that, so hoping for a bit of retracement, but pretty much on Monday and then Tuesday we went and hit our targets for the week. Looking to short from around this area. On the 4H time frame I was looking for a bit of retracement, but we just went and dumped to that level very, very quickly, and then from there we found support and then flew to the upside. So AUD/USD is looking very, very bullish. You can see on the weekly time frame, really nice bullish candlestick formation, nice wick to the downside, producing that wick, bit of a fake move, and then closing strongly bullish even above the bodies of those previous candles. So that's telling me that the market still wants to go higher, also using that resistance now as support as well. So I'm expecting AUD/USD to push on, especially with dollar showing more signs of weakness. I'm expecting more weakness next week. So all things are still looking quite bullish for AUD/USD. I've got two targets I'm looking at now for AUD/USD. I'm expecting new highs next week, and these are the two targets I have, not necessarily for next week, but if this momentum continues, I wouldn't be surprised if we do go and hit these areas. I think for next week we'll just stick to this level here, 0.745. Potentially we could go and head into that 0.755, but that would take a tremendous amount of momentum. We'll see what happens anyway, but those are the targets I'm expecting price to get to. So how we're going to trade it, I'm looking for some retracement because this is a very, very bullish move here. I do want to see the market come back to the downside again. I'm mainly focused on this resistance here. You can see that gave us a nice move, tapped into it again, bit of a false break of that. So I'm hoping the market can see a bit more downside into this level and then some upside back into 0.746, which would be that target that I was talking about on the daily time frame. And then if you want to push it further and it's looking good, we can maybe go for that 0.755. But this is mainly the opportunity I'm looking for AUSD. I'm expecting some new highs past this wick here on the left. So yeah, I'm just hoping for some retracement. If we don't come into this level, do keep in mind we have formed support here as well. So if the market does come back and reject that area, we may push on, especially with all this momentum. We may not have that deeper retracement we are looking for. We pretty much saw that last week. The market didn't really find any retracement really on the 4H. And it just dropped. So looking for longs for AUSD into next week, mainly from the 0.734 area, but also from the 0.737 area, and targets back up at 0.746 for next week. Okay, now we're going to take a look at NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, as you can see, still pushing to the upside, showing us bullish momentum. Coming into the week, we were looking for longs for NZD CAD because we did finish last week, I believe, on this strong bearish candle. So we were looking for the market to find some support and push further to the upside. I gave out two areas of where I was expecting the market to go bullish from. First area was this main key level, of support. If I take that across and show you guys quickly, a very, very strong area of support, which kept us in this range here, and was previous resistance here, used as support. So that was the main area I was looking to go long from. And then also, this support area here as well. So those are two areas I was focusing on. And as you can see, the market gave us a nice wick there, I believe, on Wednesday, and now it's still looking bullish to the upside. So I'm expecting the market to come back and revisit this resistance here again. For NZD CAD, we could break through, but I think for the week we'll look for a push into there. If we do go and break through, then we do have resistance here to look at. But it's going to take a very, very bullish, NZD CAD for us to go and reach that target. But I'll let you guys know, if we do break through that, simple break and retest could be a nice opportunity into that next area. But NZD CAD looking bullish. As you can see, there's two areas to look to go bullish from. We do have this nice resistance here. You can see with all those wicks on the 4H now flipped as support. If we can hold this support, that'll be a great place to look to go long. And again, first target into there, then maybe you can push it higher if things are looking good. If not, and we come back down, this will be a great area again to look to go long. Maybe a double bottom can form, see some more downside, and then for there, same targets as the previous trade, back into 0.76, 0.76 we'll call it. I don't think we'll probably hit there, but if things happen, the break and retest will be a nice opportunity to look at as well. So as the CAD, expecting more upside back into 0.76 for next week, and potentially 0.886 as well if we can break through that. Okay, so now we've got pound NZD. So as you can see, the market's still looking very, very bearish with this one. Like I was saying, coming into the week, I was still expecting more downside for this. I do have this level here mapped out at 1.89, which I do think the market is slowly coming to come and test before maybe you might see some recovery of this bearish momentum and some correction. But you can see pound NZD still bearish. I said to you guys coming into the week, if we can hold 1.93, I'm still expecting the market to roll over. I said there's some areas up here where we could come in retrace to. That's only if we can get above 1.93. And as you can see, we had a few attempts this week to get above, but we failed. Bearish momentum kept back in, especially with interest rates there for pound. And I'm looking at 1.89. So if we do go bullish, the longs, I'll look to get involved with is if we get back above this area. This could be a triple bottom forming potentially. Price is struggling at this area, but to get that confirmation and that high probable trade, a break and retest of 1.93 makes the most sense. And looking at longs back into 1.96 to kind of fill, this range here that formed with that big bearish momentum that we saw not too long ago. So if we do get long ideas, this is where they're going to come from, for me anyway. Shorts, if we stay below 1.93, break and retest could be a nicer entry, into that lower time frame area, 1.89, which I'll show you guys on the daily. So break and retest of that low will be a nice place to trade. Again, in here, I'll probably just stay away because it's forming a bit of a range now. So to get the actual direction, you want to be waiting for the breaks. But in this area, simply you can look for longs at this area if it holds, and shorts for this area it holds, and just play the range until we see the market give us its next direction. But in terms of the breakout and where price is going, if it breaks the downside, we're looking at 1.89. Breaks the upside, we're looking at 1.96, and that's how I'm going to play pound NZD for next week. In here against the range, let's take advantage of the highs essentially and the lows, and play that range. And that's completely up to you, but this is my outlook for pound NZD for next week. Break the lows, I'm expecting a push into 1.89. Break the highs, looking for 1.96 up there. Okay, so next up we've got CAD JPY, which as you can see is completely flying to the upside. Pretty much all the JPY pairs have seen a lot of bullish momentum. CAD JPY in particular, as you can see, finally breaking out this range here to the upside. Coming into the week, again, we did see that break. I wasn't completely convinced, so I said always wait for the retest to confirm it's bullish. We did see that retest with this wick here. I'll show you in the 4H in a second, and then from there we did see the market fly, but we did have that successful breakout of this range, and the market's actually given us some new highs past 93, which was the targets. If we did have that breakout, and price is actually trading at 94,500. So very, very bullish move there for CAD JPY, as you can see in the retest there of the highs of the range. And it's still looking strong, but after such a move like this, I do expect to see some correction and some bearish momentum creeping back into the market. I know it's difficult to see right now because the market is very, very bullish. But normally after such strong moves like this, we do expect the market to find some resistance and see some downside. I don't expect the whole move to be traced completely, but to see some downside, maybe back into this resistance, which we broke through and still haven't got the retest of at 93. Again, the market is bullish, so we do have to be careful. Same scenario as USD JPY. Have to be patient for the market to shift bearish first before we do look for some shorts. But I will be mainly looking for shorts for CAD JPY coming into this upper trend line at this area. You can see previously strong rallies, we do come back down. Strong rallies, we do see some downside. It's only healthy to keep the market moving bullish. But yeah, primarily looking for sells at this general area coming to this trend line here for pushback down into that resistance turn support at 93. So between 94,500 and 95 essentially, because we could spike higher. I'm looking for the market to find some resistance in this area. Again, there could be some nice longs at 93,800 coming into this consolidation. On the 4H, which we broke out, so we could see something like this happen, and more longs back into that 94,500 into some highs. Again, we don't know quite where the highs will form because the market is still trending right now, but we could assume maybe around this trend line area. So again, more day trades looking for longs, but I'll be waiting for the market to shift bearish, and then when it does, generally from this area here, I will be looking for some sells. Again, I'm going to put the risk reward tool up now, but that might not be how the trade will work, or be set up, just because a lot of things can happen before I do look for sells. But I will post trading setups that I do take on my Telegram, so feel free to go and check that out, link in the description, and also feel free to check out my live streams where I'll be talking through my thought process through CAD JPY of what I want to do with it. But some longs could set up like that back to the upside, 70 USD JPY, just riding that momentum and staying with the trend. But when we do shift bearish, now we'll be looking for sales back into 93, since we never got the retest on the daily of that key level. So coming into the week, expecting more upside for CAD JPY, but if we can hold this level of 95 and that trend line, we'll be looking for shorts back down into 93. Okay, so next up we got pound USD now. So pound USD, as you can see this week, a bit of bullish momentum, not too much. We're still trading in this area, still trading below that critical low that we produced not too long ago at 1.32. We're still trading underneath that level, using it as resistance. The market is still bearish, but I did say before with Euro USD and some other USD pairs, I'm expecting a lot of weakness. So I do think pound can probably have a go at trying to break through this level. Whether it does, I have no idea. We'll have to see during the week if that happens. But if the dollar is weak and we do see a bit of strength from the pound, I do think we can break through 1.32 and push into this 1.33 area, which we broke through and never got the retest of. So I'm primarily still looking for longs for pound USD, but again, I'm not ignoring the fact that the market is still bearish. So if I do see, essentially this area get rejected, I will be looking for shorts. If you can break through the trend line, stick some lower highs in, I'll be looking for a move back down into 1.3 and potentially further as well if the bearish trend stays intact. So if that is the case, a nice break of this area, retest, I will be looking for longs probably on the hourly or maybe 30-minute, depending on risk reward. But I will be looking for longs back into those lows and then maybe into 1.29. But I'm primarily looking for longs because I'm expecting to see some more weakness for the dollar and a push into 1.33. But of course, we do need to break above that resistance for this setup to be valid. We don't be buying into that, that critical support down the left turn resistance now. So if we can break above this, great. We'll look for the retest, drop the lower time frames, and take a buy into 1.33. If that momentum does fail, then we'll look for sells. So we can take advantage of both directions. I'm mainly focused on the longs because that's where I'm expecting the price to go. But if I'm wrong, the sells will be a good setup, and I'll still look to take advantage of that if that's the case. So for pound USD for next week, break above 1.32. We're looking for longs into 1.33. If that doesn't fail, we'll look for a break of 1.31 and a push into 1.3 and maybe even 1.29 as well. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at pound CAD. So pound CAD, again, not too much from this one. The market overall is still looking bearish, as you can see there on the daily and the high time frames as well, which I'm mainly using to form my bias. It does look like we're eventually breaking out this consolidation and seeing more bearish momentum. So I still do have those longer term targets at this 1.62, 1.63 area, which I'm expecting the market to head to within the next few weeks. So I'm still expecting more downside for pound CAD. The market is still looking exceptionally bearish, so we could see some correction before that move, but I'm still looking at their targets and keeping that in the back of my head. But right now, as you can see, the market came back for a nice retest of this prior swing low there. Nice retest, nice fake out, another retest just by that wick, and we're still dropping to the downside. So still looking at shorts into those lows. I think we might see some retracement. I've got two areas where I'm looking at retracement for, either back into this resistance again and then some downside, or if we do go and break through this a bit more, retracing back into the major swing high where we saw all this momentum come from, a nice area of supply around 1.69. If we can hold that, again, I will be looking for sells to take advantage of another swing and back to the downside. And if we can hold this level as well, looking for some sells to the downside. Do have those longer targets there, but I don't think we'll reach that this week. Probably looking for pushes that 1.65, 1.645 this week, depending how bearish we are. Of course, we could hit those levels, but just not expecting that to happen. But for the week, I'm looking at some retracement and then shorts to the downside back to those lows. So I'm looking at 1.672 to see how we react at that level. If we break through, then I'll be looking at 1.685 and sells back to the downside next week for pound CAD. Okay, so now next up we've got pound JPY. So as you can see, another JPY pair. JPY has been exceptionally weak, and we're still looking very, very bullish. Coming into the week, I was bearish, looking for the market to roll over to see some more downside, and I said as long as we stay below 155, which is that prior swing high, and we'll take a look at the 4H in a second, I'll be expecting the market to continue down. If it breaks above, I'll consider changing my bias to bullish, and I have considered because we have broken above, and I do think the market can actually head higher now. On second thoughts, looking at this, it does look like the market gave us a push to the downside, bit of a fake move there, another higher low on the higher time frames. You can see on the weekly, this was our support that kept the market bullish. It was looking like the market was going to roll back into that level, but it said no. Looks like it's putting on a higher low, and now with this momentum, I do expect the market to come back into this resistance and potentially break through and see us at 160s if in the next coming weeks potentially. So pound JPY right now, because it's had such a strong move and coming into a strong level of resistance, as you can see on the weekly, rejection, rejection, rejection. I do think there'll be some nice shorts to the downside to start the week off. but I do think the bigger move is probably back into the high up here, into that 158 territory and potentially higher as well. But shorts to start the week off coming into this level, so there could be some nice sells from around the 157.250 to 157.500. You can see very strong sell-offs from this area, so we're likely to see some type of rejection again to the downside. And again, the market does need to see some correction as well, but I'm mainly looking at the market coming back into this area here at 155.500. So you can see many rejections in this area where the market has used that support previously, hasn't really used it too much of resistance, but it's been a strong support level. So could be some nice sales to start the week off. Again, monitor price action, just because the market is still bullish and can potentially break through, of course. But looking for a push into 155.500, and then from there, if we can hold that as support, we'll be looking for longs, back into the highs at 157.500, and potentially we'll try and push it on into 158 as well. I do believe a lot of JPY pairs have seen some new highs, and I think a JPY pair can actually go and see some new highs, and follow their footsteps. So some downside to start the week off from 157.500, and then looking for longs from 155.500, back to highs next week for pound JPY. Okay, now next up we've got gold. So gold, as you can see, has still been quite bearish, and we've been expecting more downside for gold. To be honest, I said coming into the stream, I'm primarily expecting shorts. I specifically said that if we can hold this, I'm expecting Okay, so now we're going to take a look at gold. So gold, as you can see, some downside this week, which was expected. I did say if we don't break through this level here, I'm expecting gold to roll over. And I gave out two main areas I'm looking at, which is this level of support and also this level of support. So as long as we didn't break through 2000, I'm expecting gold to come back down. As you can see, we've seen a really nice depletion of price there. But I do think it's time to see if the market can find some support again to go back up and test 2000 again as resistance. The market, again, if you look at the higher time frames, is still very bullish. Despite this bearish weekly candle, we can easily see momentum pick up again to the upside and go and challenge that 270 area. So I'm still expecting more upside. We're still trading above a very strong resistance, now turn support. If we can maintain that as support, I'm expecting the market to continue going bullish. Dropping onto the full H, we've got two areas that I'm mainly looking to go long from. The first area being the area that the market is currently trading at right now. So you can see a nice spike there, and the market flew. We held it again a little bit during the week. False break to the downside. That was with some news. Nice wick, closed bullish. Now we're back above that level. So if we can hold this, we'll be looking for longs from this area. Again, first target does have to be the resistance that the price just made there. But if you can break through, we'll be looking at that 2000 area for gold. If not, we'll be looking at longs from this area at 1890, where you can see the market gave us many wicks to the upside. To the downside, sorry, many wicks into this area, big spike, many wicks as well, before seeing some upside. So really strong support that if the market is going to go bullish from, you would expect in an area like this to hold. Might see manipulation and all that, but I'm expecting the market to move higher. So for gold, bullish coming into the week. The market is still bearish, so do watch out. We're still seeing bearish momentum, lower lows, lower highs. So do wait for your confirmations before getting involved. But looking from longs from this 1917 area, and then if that doesn't hold, we'll be looking for longs at 1890, targets back up at 2000. Okay, so next up we've got Bitcoin. So as you can see for Bitcoin, bit of a move to the upside this week. That trend line that I was talking about is still holding and pushing price higher. Coming into the week, I'm still quite bearish on Bitcoin. I was bearish on Bitcoin last week, and I still am bearish on Bitcoin because the daily time frame and the higher time frames are still pointing to the downside. This 44k area is still holding. As long as that holds, I'm still bearish overall. Yes, we can see some upside. I'm still bearish overall, expecting a drop into that 31k, which is this support level on the left there. So still expecting that bearish drop, but we have picked up some bullish momentum, and support is still holding. We're still getting these higher lows. So if this level here It doesn't successfully hold. It's holding currently, but we haven't had so much evidence that we are about to come down. If it doesn't hold, we'll be looking at a push into 44k for Bitcoin before maybe we do see some downside. So dropping lower, you can see the market is stalling a little bit, but overall that's just pretty much consolidation. But if essentially we do hold this area, shorts will be looking good, stops above that high there on the left, and looking for a drop back into that trend line. And only if we do see a break of the trend line will that 31k area be reached, because if we maintain respect to the trend line, it will eventually come back again and retest those highs. If this area doesn't hold and we see some upside, there could be some nice buys on the retest back into 44k and take advantage of that move. But then again, from here we'll be looking for shorts for push right back down into that same trend line. So pretty much this range of 39 to 38k will be the targets, but essentially it will be the trend line. So yeah, mainly still short on Bitcoin, looking to take advantage of those opportunities. Two areas I'm interested in, which is 42k, which price is trading at right now, and if that breaks 44k to short, there will probably be some nice break and retest buys into 44k if we can break above. So you can look at taking advantage of that. It'll probably look something like this on the break and retest, but I'm mainly looking at shorts and following the bigger trend on the daily and weekly time frame. So Bitcoin shorts at 42, sorry, or 44 for next week, and targets back down at that trend line.
Okay guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that, found that useful. If you don't understand anything or have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. If you have another bias or agree or disagree with mine, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to find out what you guys think as well. But if you are enjoying the content, please like, subscribe, share, hit the bell as well. It really does help the channel out. But with all that said guys, I hope I see you in the next one, and enjoy your weekend.